I lost my job and worked hard day after day to take care of the baby. Then I was reborn on the night I gave birth. In my previous life, I lost my sight due to retinal detachment during a natural birth as I was trying to have a vaginal delivery. I lost my job and worked hard day after day to take care of the baby. However, my husband brought his mistress home and had a good time right under my nose. Living this life again, I heard my husband and my mother-in-law discussing outside that they must not allow a cesarean section. I immediately rolled off the delivery bed, grabbed a mop, and chased after my husband to beat him. Late at night, the cries in the delivery room were heartrending. Living this life again, I have to endure this bone-breaking pain for the second time. In my previous life, due to my high myopia, I lost my eyesight because of retinal detachment during a natural birth, and my whole latter half of life was ruined. I grabbed a midwife with trembling hands. Please, I want to change from a natural birth to a cesarean section. We also think that given your physical condition, a cesarean section would definitely be the best option. But your mother-in-law and your husband refused to sign the consent form for the operation no matter what we said. There's nothing we can do. I remembered in my previous life, my mother-in-law said that it was okay if Scarlett went blind, but if it was a cesarean section, it would be bad for the baby. I gritted my teeth and rolled straight off the delivery bed. Miss Scarlett, Miss Scarlett. Ignoring the midwife's obstruction, I endured the great pain and walked out of the delivery room. I grabbed a mop from the utility room and rushed out. Gavin. Gavin. I pointed the mop handle directly at Gavin's nose. Damn it. Get your ass over here and sign. Gavin was scared by the sight of me, pregnant and going crazy. Dear, be careful of the baby. Sign it. I roared, and the baby in my belly gave me a kick. My mother-in-law came running over, wailing, and was about to feign scolding me when I hit Gavin a few times with the mop handle, scaring her into taking several timid steps back. I took a deep breath. Are you going to sign or not? Gavin adjusted his glasses. Dear, I heard that babies born by cesarean section aren't as smart as those born naturally. I'm almost dying here, and he's still considering whether the baby will be smart or not. I slapped him hard on both sides of his face. Are you going to sign or not? Sign, dear. Please don't get too worked up and affect the baby. Gavin's glasses were slapped off by me. He scrambled to squat down and pick them up, saying hurriedly, Don't be angry, dear. Disgusting. I spat and walked into the delivery room with my hands on my hips. My mother-in-law's cries came from behind me. What a misfortune for the family. Married a shrew. A shrew? Fortunately, I became a shrew in this life. If I were still as cowardly as in my previous life, I'd probably die without a proper burial. Last time, after giving birth, I went blind. My mother-in-law didn't even ask the doctor if my eyesight could be restored. Instead, she was concerned about whether my broken body could still have a second child. Although my husband said on the surface that as long as his wife was okay, he actually brought his mistress home and had sex right under my nose. When I found out, he explained that his mother wanted a grandson and he had no choice. What a shameless family. I was actually touched by Gavin's thoughtfulness and gentleness at first and thought I had married the right person. How ridiculous. An hour after getting on the operating table, I successfully gave birth to a baby girl. Back in the hospital room, my mother-in-law, as expected, started nagging again just like in my previous life. We agreed to give birth to a son for the Gavin family. Look, you just had to have a cesarean section. You can't have a second child until 3 years after a cesarean section, right? What a sin. Women nowadays are really delicate. In our time, it has nothing to do with me if you were like a sow giving birth to 8 or 10 in one litter in your time. I interrupted my mother-in-law. You can be the sow if you like. I won't. How can you speak like that? How can you speak like that? Don't you know the order of seniority? Don't you have any respect for the elders? Can't I even talk about someone who doesn't respect themselves? I continued to retort without showing any weakness. Gavin came over and took my hand. Scarlett, say less. My mother isn't having an easy time either. Who the hell is having an easy time? I shook off Gavin's hand. You'd better stop nagging. Otherwise, when we get home, I'll divorce you. Looking at Gavin wiping his sweat, I gritted my teeth and cursed. You won't get a single thing, not the child, not the house, nor the money. Gavin and my mother-in-law both shut their mouths. Only then did I feel a bit more comfortable. After resting for a while, I called Gavin over and told him that I wanted to book a confinement center and asked him to get it done in the next 2 days. Gavin frowned. Well, the confinement nanny my mother hired. Ask your mother if she has cancelled the confinement nanny? Gavin had an expression that said, how did you know? Of course I knew. In my previous life, my mother-in-law said that what was the point of hiring a confinement nanny for a girl? Then she cancelled the nanny and also urged Gavin to cancel his paternity leave, leaving me, a blind person, to fumble around and take care of the baby. Later, Gavin brought his mistress home to have sex, and she even helped cover it up. I really wanted to twist her head off and kick it like a ball. I added, once you go to the confinement center, how much easier it will be for you and your mother. You can continue to go to work, your mother can continue to do square dancing, and the baby can be safe and sound. It's a win-win situation. What are you hesitating for? If you hesitate any longer, you won't be able to book it. Gavin thought for a moment and nodded, saying he would go do it right away. Don't think I don't know what he's thinking. Once I'm in the confinement center, he can have an affair with his mistress openly at home. That's the best thing for him, right? The second day, Gavin told me that the confinement center had been booked. We just needed to wait a few more days to be discharged from the hospital. They would send someone to pick us up, and we could just take the baby and go directly there. I pinched Gavin's face with a smile. You're the most reliable when it comes to handling things. My mother-in-law was sitting on the side, fuming, as if I owed her something. He has the money to keep a mistress outside but not enough to book a confinement center for his wife? What a joke. When I first met Gavin, he was my client. Gavin was in the government system. The piece of land that the real estate enterprise I worked for needed to acquire was under Gavin's jurisdiction, and that's how I got to know him. He wasn't a big leader, but he did have some power in his hands. I was the team leader of a project group. To win him over, I first invited him to dinner and drinks, and then sent him some expensive gifts, but he returned them all. I had a bit of a good impression of him, but not much. After the bidding was successful, Gavin suddenly launched a passionate pursuit of me. I was both flattered and at a loss. It wasn't until I went to a university class reunion with him for the first time that one of his friends let something slip at the dinner table. She looked so much like her. When we got back, I pestered him to ask who on earth I looked like. Gavin remained silent. At the wedding, another girl in a white dress showed up among our guests. I saw the unwillingness in her eyes. At the same time, I also sensed the deep sadness in Gavin. Her face shape and eyes were somewhat similar to mine. It was her. Fortunately, after marrying Gavin, he treated me extremely well. He was usually extremely tolerant of me and took care of every little thing, which made me quickly forget about this matter. Who hasn't had a youth? I did too. The most important thing is to live the days ahead well, isn't it? I just didn't expect that after giving birth, Gavin would bring another woman into our lives. Whether she was really his first love or not, as a blind person, I couldn't see clearly. My intuition told me that it was most likely the case. After being discharged from the hospital, I sent a message to my best friend. I asked her to go to my house to get something for me on the pretext of that and secretly install a few pinhole cameras. Gavin, let's see what kind of mistress you're hiding. In the following days, I lay in the confinement center, eating, drinking, and playing with the baby. In my spare time, I would open the video on my phone to check the surveillance footage of my house. Oh my, it was really a visual feast. They were kissing on the living room sofa and being intimate in the second bedroom. It was as if I could watch a little movie anytime and anywhere. That woman got along quite well with my mother-in-law. The three of them were chatting and laughing. She was wearing my slippers and home clothes, drinking water from my cup. Through the camera, I saw her deliberately leaving her lipstick marks on my cup. I just felt disgusted. At night, she often stayed overnight at my house. She was sleeping with my husband in my bed, the scene was quite intense and would need to be mosaicked. It was really rare to see Gavin being so passionate. Before I got pregnant, our married life was like fulfilling a task. This made me have to suspect that Gavin might have some problems. Now it seems that Gavin doesn't have problems, but just not with me. Ah, what a great humiliation, what a great humiliation. Gavin always didn't come to the confinement center to accompany me. He said he had to work overtime and was really busy recently. So, this was how he worked overtime? It must be quite tiring. When I received another call from Gavin saying he had to work overtime again, I told him, "You work so hard when you're working overtime. Take it easy. Don't wear out your kidneys." After saying that, I heard Gavin coughing on the other end of the phone as if he had been choked by something. Why didn't he choke to death? Look at how cocky he is. However, I did have two important discoveries. First, Gavin's mistress wasn't his first love. I had seen that woman. She was his new colleague and always called Gavin master. Her name was Ava. The other one. There wasn't only one person having an affair at home. The old man who often danced square dances with my mother-in-law had been brought home by my mother-in-law recently. Oh my, they're really old and improper. My mother-in-law became a widow at a young age. Now it seems that she can't hold on anymore. They were always making eyes at each other at my house. My mother-in-law was also hospitably cooking for the old man, serving tea and water. These two are really something. So now my house has become a fixed place for having affairs? These two, be a bit more decent, for God's sake. When I went back home after the confinement period, I found that they had cleaned up the scene of their affairs quite neatly. Only in a corner of the bathroom did I find a pregnancy test stick. There were clearly 2 lines on it, as if telling me that Gavin was going to have another child. They were quite fast. My breathing stopped for a moment, and I was stunned for quite a while. Then I pretended that nothing had happened and threw the pregnancy test stick away. Isn't it just trying to leave something to disgust me when leaving? Gavin and that woman are a match made in hell. I don't care. What I care about is how to make him get divorced and leave with nothing. As soon as I got home, Gavin's mistress couldn't come anymore. My mother-in-law seemed quite dissatisfied. The next day, she ordered me to do this and that, and then went to dance square dances with the old man herself. Fine. When she wasn't around, I washed all her expensive clothes until they were ruined, and then smashed all her dining utensils to pieces. When my mother-in-law came back from dancing square dances and said she wanted to invite the old man to have a meal at home, seeing the messy living room and the already ruined clothes, she had a sudden high blood pressure attack. I took a photo of the old man helping my mother-in-law into the bedroom and sent it to Gavin. Hire a nanny for the family. Mom has been taking care of me all the time and has no time to go out on dates. She even brought her dance partner home. Look at this. Gavin came back quite early that night. As soon as he entered the door, he had a big fight with his mother. Gavin's father passed away early, and they had a deep relationship between father and son. Although he was obedient to his mother in everything, it seemed that he couldn't accept his mother finding a new father for him. You'd better give up this idea. I've been a widow for your father's sake all my life. This is the way of a woman. Leaning against the headboard of the bed, I could hear everything clearly. I picked up the glass of milk and drank it all. Haha, the way of a woman? What a load of crap. This time, I'm on my mother-in-law's side. Well, actually, I prefer listening to Gavin and my mother-in-law arguing. It's so exciting when they're at each other's throats. I didn't quite catch what else they were arguing about. All I heard was the sound of a lot of things in the house being smashed. That included my mother-in-law's favorite Celadon bowl, glass cups, and the mobile phone she used to contact her dance partner. The old man.it would be enough to make her heart ache for a while. After Gavin went to work, my mother-in-law couldn't hold it in anymore and directly pointed at me and started yelling curses. I heard words like bitch and whore. This time, I wouldn't show any mercy. I walked up to my mother-in-law with the baby in my arms and threw the used diaper I had just changed right at her face. My mother-in-law let out an ugh sound and pointed at me while pinching her nose. I said, "You're really something. You're old but still want to have a fling, bringing someone to my house for a late-in-life romance. Don't you even look at yourself in the mirror? If you want to date, get out." Don't dirt in my house. My mother-in-law snorted a few times and couldn't say anything else, then she went into the kitchen and started banging on the pots and pans. I put the baby in the stroller and walked up to my mother-in-law again. I picked up an iron basin and slammed it on the ground a few times. If it's about who can make a louder noise by throwing things, I'm ready to compete. My mother-in-law stared at me but didn't dare to say another word. Isn't she just a bully who picks on the weak and fears the strong? If it really came to a fight, I wouldn't show any mercy either. Taking advantage of the time when my mother-in-law went out to complain to her dance partner, I asked a friend to find a divorce lawyer for me. Then I redeemed all my fund investments and bought a house in the suburbs in my father's name. As for this marital home under my name, I also planned to sell it. The price had already been negotiated. When we got married, Gavin provided a car, and I had a house under my name, so he didn't need to buy another one. When it comes to marriage, I prefer to keep things simple. I don't like those old-fashioned customs like betrothal gifts and dowries. Now I understand that for some customs, you have to pay attention to them. Otherwise, they won't think you're good but will instead say you're cheap. My mother-in-law is a typical example. She even went around saying that her son was really capable, marrying a rich and capable wife without spending much money. In this life, I won't spoil her. I pretended that I didn't know anything and had a love-hate relationship with my mother-in-law every day and treated Gavin with polite indifference. Probably because I was pretending so well, Gavin let down his guard and even blatantly brought Ava home to have dinner together. Occasionally, Ava would touch her belly and act coquettish right in front of me. I still pretended that I didn't understand anything. Actually, in my mind, I had imagined countless times the scene of shoving their heads into the toilet and rubbing them around. So, when I threw the divorce agreement in his face and handed him over to the prosecutor myself, Gavin's expression was priceless. I knew that Gavin was about to participate in a promotion competition. For his speech in this competition, I had been preparing for a long time. When he was giving an impassioned speech on the stage and saw me pushing open the door of the conference room in high heels, he looked as if he had seen a ghost. Over the past 6 months, Comrade Gavin has accepted kickbacks totaling 3.68 million yuan, along with 7 bottles of liquor and 7 packs of cigarettes each. Gavin's mistress has received 5 pieces of jewelry, including 2 bracelets and 3 necklaces. I said as I walked, throwing the evidence in my hand onto the rostrum. As Gavin's soon-to-be ex-wife, I'm now revealing all this evidence. A person like him is not qualified to hold the position of section chief. At the same time, the leaders from the procuratorate burst into the room together. Gavin was taken away on the spot for investigation. My house was also searched thoroughly. I took out the divorce agreement that I had already drafted and threw it in his face. Let's get divorced. The child and the house will be mine, and you won't get a share of the property either. You. When did you find out? Gavin was being held by 2 prosecutors, his lips trembling. I looked into his eyes. When you told Ava to have the baby. I curled the corners of my mouth into a smile. Then, I handed the disc to the prosecutors as well. Besides having financial problems, he also has problems with his work style. He's a black sheep in the civil servant team. Scarlet. Gavin's mouth twitched, and he was stuttering. During this period of time, I had been collecting evidence of Gavin accepting kickbacks. I had always thought that he was an upright person and wouldn't stoop to corruption. But I didn't expect that when he refused my expensive gifts back then, it was just a means to get my attention. My mother-in-law saw that the house was turned upside down and ran out with small, hurried steps, crying with snot and tears. Oh my God, what kind of sin have I committed? Why is this happening? She grabbed her dear son's hand. Gavin, tell Mom, did that bitch Scarlett frame you? Ah? Oh my God. I told you not to get involved with her in the first place. Look at this. Marrying a shrew will ruin 3 generations. I sat on the sofa, crossed my legs, and calmly watched her crazy performance. Who's the shrew actually? When Gavin was being taken away, he said to me with a choked voice, Scarlett, I know I'm wrong. Please forgive me, okay? Please. Looking at his hypocritical face and listening to his words that might be true or false, I felt so nauseous that I got dizzy. Scarlett, it was my mom. Mom insisted that I give the Gavin family another boy, so I slapped him across the face to shut him up. His mistress Ava was also taken away for investigation together. In my previous life, I was blind, and I always thought that the blurry figure was Gavin's first love. Only after living this life again did I know that his first love had already hated him to the core. How could she possibly submit to him? Gavin was like an emperor, having a hobby of collecting things related to his first love. Probably, he was planning to build himself a harem. After a while, my mother-in-law jumped up and tore the divorce agreement into pieces. Scarlett, don't push me too far. So everything in the house is yours, and our Gavin won't get a penny? Otherwise? I rolled my eyes and said coldly, hello, in the marriage between Mr. Gavin and Ms. Scarlett, Mr. Gavin is indeed the at-fault party. He cohabited with another woman and got her pregnant during Ms. Scarlett's confinement period. This is bigamy. Additionally, Ms. Scarlett's income is more than twice that of Mr. Gavin, and she also has more fixed assets. Whether it's assets or character, she is more suitable for raising the child. Also, okay, stop talking. I won't understand even if you keep talking. My divorce lawyer was still talking when my mother-in-law hurriedly interrupted. She was making a fuss, scratching her hair until it looked like a bird's nest. This house, I won't move. It's my son's. I won't leave. I nodded with a smile. Fine, if you won't leave, I will. I packed up all my things and even called a moving company. Not only was the house mine, but the furniture inside was also bought by me before marriage. Could I leave it for her? Besides, she won't be able to stay here for many days anyway. I asked the guys from the moving company to carry away all the furniture, including the wardrobe, the bed, the TV, and the toilet. I even took the tiles off and took them away together. After all, the procedures for the villa I bought had been completed, and I could move in. I planned to put all these things in the storeroom of my villa. My mother-in-law was jumping up and down like a clown. When they were moving the TV, she hugged the TV. When they were moving the wardrobe, she blocked the wardrobe. The guys from the moving company asked me, sister, what should we do? I said that as long as the things could be moved out, it would be okay to step over her body. My mother-in-law got scared when she heard that. She moved aside, lowered her head, and let us empty the house until it was just a shell. Before leaving, I even had the door removed. And I reminded her very considerately, I'm leaving. You'll have to make do with sleeping on the concrete floor tonight. Oh, right. Remember to find something to block the door, otherwise, if burglars or thieves come, I'm afraid your old bones will have to go to see the king of hell ahead of time. You'll get your comeuppance sooner or later. My mother-in-law's face was almost turning green with anger. I shrugged. Only bad people will get their comeuppance, like you. With that, I slammed the door and left. At the same time, the video of Gavin's affair dominated the top trending searches. I bought those trending searches. Gavin quickly became the talk and joke of everyone after meals. Some people even made memes and gifs out of the video of his affair and circulated them. Some said that it was lucky to discover such a black sheep in the government system early. If he had really been promoted, who knows how many girls he would have taken advantage of in the future. I seconded that. It should be changed to, who knows how many girls who look like his first love he would have taken advantage of in the future. I stayed in my big villa every day. I hired a top-notch baby nurse for my daughter. In my spare time, I would browse the trending searches on my phone, and Gavin was popular for quite a while. If it weren't for me, where would he get this kind of exposure? He should thank me. Back then, I really loved Gavin to death. But now, I want him to never be able to turn things around. After doing all these things, I quickly returned to the workplace. In my previous life, because I was blind, I had no choice but to quit my job and stay at home. Gavin and my mother-in-law were always displeased with me and could bully me as they liked. I was a blind new mother, powerless, and could only endure it. In this life, I couldn't wait to go back to the company. The several months of maternity leave I had originally planned was shortened. But I was happy to do so. After all, it's quite stressful to support the family by myself. Kids are money-eating monsters. I regained my position as the team leader of the project group and quickly adapted to the new life. I made an appointment with Vivian in a coffee shop. When the coffee and desserts were served on the table, we looked at each other. It seemed really similar. Vivian was Gavin's first love. She was the one who bought the trending searches for Gavin for me. She also told me that Gavin wasn't a person of upright character. If I had been more careful, I would surely have found the flaws. She said that when they graduated from university, Gavin's thesis was plagiarized. I asked her, from whom? Vivian stared into my eyes with her mouth slightly open and said, me. Not long after I finished my confinement period, Vivian contacted me first. She helped me collect the evidence of Gavin's economic crimes and handed it to me. At first, I was a bit surprised. I asked her, even if you had a falling out after being in love, was it really necessary to go this far? Vivian shook her head and said, you don't know. When we were in university, he was so nice to me. But in the end, he plagiarized my graduation thesis and almost stepped on me to enter a top enterprise. Back then, after several rounds of elimination in the interviews, only the two of them remained for the final round. The interviewers asked them to rate each other. Vivian said, I gave Gavin a 10. She asked me, guess how many points Gavin gave me? I shook my head. Vivian looked into my eyes and said softly, 0. Later, the interviewers didn't seem to like Gavin, who gave me 0 points. They thought he had no sense of the big picture and couldn't be kind to others. So they eliminated him. Since then, I've been the target of dirty rumors. They all said that I slept with the chairman of the company to get the position. Vivian sneered. But do you know who the chairman of the company is? It's my uncle. After the rumors were disproved on their own, he went around spreading that the company gave me special treatment and that I used my connections to push him out. But in fact, the person in my uncle's position had nothing to do with the recruitment. I didn't even tell him that I was applying for his company. No interviewer knew who I was. Later, I had no choice but to quit and prove myself again. This is his true nature. Vivian sighed. Judging from the current situation, it's really true that old habits die hard. I finished my coffee, and there was an indescribable feeling in my heart. It was like something was stuck in my throat and couldn't come out for a long time. After a while, I said, when I got married, I saw you. The unwillingness in your eyes made me feel. I was indeed unwilling. I was unwilling that he actually had the nerve to marry a girl like you who has good conditions and is beautiful. Vivian said. I couldn't help but laugh. She's really sweet-tongued. Gavin was sentenced to 3 years in prison for accepting kickbacks. His mistress Ava received a smaller amount of money and, because she was pregnant, was only fined. After Gavin was imprisoned, she came to see me with her hand on her belly, hoping that I could get Gavin out. She also said that after all, he was the father of the children. Both children couldn't do without their father. I was too lazy to hit her. I just raised my hand and splashed a glass of water on her face. I don't deign to compete with your children for their father. I said coldly. My child can also do without a father. Are you kidding? I went to great lengths to send Gavin to prison. Now get him out? Do I have nothing better to do? Seeing this, Ava cried and begged me. But I need money. I can't support the children by myself. Looking at her pitiful appearance, I did feel a bit of sympathy, but sympathy is one thing. I'm not going to be a saint, then I'll tell you. Gavin has no money. Before I gave birth, my salary was more than twice his. Even if he gets out, he won't have a penny for you. Give up this idea. Ava let out a whimper and remained motionless with her hand on her belly for a long time. I had no sympathy for her at all. Even if the wrongdoer was the scumbag, didn't she have any responsibility? She was making trouble on my turf, blatantly being a mistress, with no sense of shame. She deserved what she got. It was entirely her own fault. It's just a pity for the children in her belly. A few more days later, the buyer of my house was coming to view the property. The transaction went very smoothly. After showing the buyer around the house, I was ready to confirm the payment. Funny enough, my former mother-in-law had been living in the shell of the house for a while. To continue being a nail household, she even had someone install a not-so-great front door. I walked in with the buyer and introduced the things in the house one by one. I have a set of furniture in my storeroom. If you don't mind, I can move it here. If you want to decorate it yourself, that's also okay. The buyers were a newlywed couple. They discussed it and decided to redecorate according to their own preferences, just as I expected. My former mother-in-law came running out with a thud, thud, thud. What are you doing? This is my house. What do you think you're doing? I introduced to the young couple, this is my former mother-in-law. She's a bit off in the head. Please don't mind. She'll move out today. Don't worry. After that, I said to my former mother-in-law, Auntie, I've sold the house. Please move out as soon as possible. Don't disrupt my transaction. The old lady stared at me for a long while, her pupils looking like they were in an earthquake. You? What did you say? This is the house of you and Gavin. What right do you have? I looked at her with a smile. You're really getting senile. This is my house all by myself. The old lady's complexion was extremely bad. She was stunned for a long time and didn't come to her senses. When I was leaving with the people, she splashed a glass of water at us to drive us away. I comforted the young couple, asking them to relax and telling them that I'd call the police right away. 2 policemen escorted the old lady out, one on each side. To show my sincerity, I paid out of my own pocket to replace the door and the lock, so that the old lady wouldn't continue to cause trouble. Sure enough, a few days later, someone in the community property management group posted a video, saying that an old woman was shouting and yelling in front of the house where I used to live, disturbing the peace of everyone in the whole building. At night, she even slept in the corridor with her bedding, and the residents going up and down the stairs saw it all and were extremely disgusted. Later, she was driven out by everyone together. Some people said that the old lady was quite pitiful. Immediately, someone replied, "Then you let her live in your house." The group fell silent, and no one said anything else. I took the opportunity to leave the group. Later, I heard that the old lady was scammed out of more than 4 million yuan by a pig butchering scam. That old man, her dance partner, was an old swindler. Just when the old lady was short of money, she plunged headlong into the pig butchering scam. In order to make a lot of money through investment, she borrowed millions from various platforms. As a result, the old swindler ran away, leaving her alone to be hounded by loan sharks. I had a peaceful period of time and even found a young boyfriend. He was the doctor who treated my eyes in my previous life, named Ethan. Back then, I was blind and couldn't see him. In this life, by chance, I got to know him again. The first time I saw him, I just felt that his voice was extremely familiar and there was an inexplicable sense of closeness. Later, I found out that he was the head of the ophthalmology department in the hospital where I gave birth. I was quite pleased in my heart when I could match the person. Fortunately, he didn't mind at all that I was single, divorced, and had a child. Probably because I was exuding irresistible charm all over since my divorce. When my daughter was 3 years old, she came back from kindergarten on the first day and told me that there was a strange uncle who said he was her father. I glanced at Ethan, and my heart suddenly sank. 3 years had passed. Gavin was out. He had behaved quite well in prison and even had his sentence reduced by a few months. I told my daughter, remember clearly. Except for Mom and Uncle Ethan coming to pick you up, don't pay any attention to anyone else. A few days later, I met Gavin at the entrance of my villa. He could actually find his way here. Long time no see. He looked more than 10 years older than before. His eye sockets were sunken, and he was unshaven. He clearly looked like a convict who had just been released from reform through labor. I pretended not to see him, but he grabbed my arm. Scarlett, how long are you going to avoid me? Avoid you? I asked rhetorically. Do I need to avoid you? Gavin's eyes were bloodshot. Can I see my daughter again? I really miss her. I shook my head and refused without thinking. Having a father like him was a disgrace to my daughter. I told him that if my daughter recognized him as her father, it would be like recognizing a thief as her father. It would affect her future civil service exams. It would be better for them to remain strangers. Gavin took out a stack of envelopes from his backpack. I wrote many letters to my daughter in prison. You won't let me see my daughter, but you can't deny that I'm her father, right? He handed the letters to me. I want to beg you to give these letters to my daughter. When she grows up, she'll know that there's someone in this world who loves her. I just felt disgusted and amused in my heart. Love her? If he really loved his daughter, how could he have been willing to bring another woman home to have an affair when she was just born? How could he have been willing to drive her biological mother to death? How could he have been willing to break up this family with his own hands? He had only ever loved himself from the beginning to the end. I didn't even want to look at those letters. I tore them up one by one in front of Gavin and then threw them down on top of Gavin. Do you want to win me back so that I can go back and help your mother pay off her debts? I've cut off all relations with my mother, Scarlett. I don't know if what I'm doing will be of any use. It's useless. I said coldly. A glint of ruthlessness flashed in Gavin's eyes. He was being so cautious and begging pitifully, looking exactly like a dog. I turned around and went home, but he still stood there downstairs without moving. Late at night, Ethan and I looked down from the windowsill. Gavin was still standing there blankly. He looked up at us. Ethan quickly pulled the curtain shut. The next morning, Ethan held my hand, sent my daughter to kindergarten, and then sent me to work. Gavin's eyes lit up when he saw us, especially when he saw my daughter. He had actually sat there downstairs all night. Mom, it's him. I crouched down and kissed my daughter. Mom doesn't know him. So, you should also try hard to tell the bad guys apart in the future, okay? My daughter nodded obediently. I walked past Gavin and got into Ethan's car. The sound of Gavin's low sobs came to my ears. He was hunched over, as if all his strength had been drained away. I didn't feel the slightest bit of sympathy for him. I heard that Gavin's mistress, Ava, was really desperate. She went to my former mother-in-law's place to make a big scene. As a result, the two of them had a huge fight. Ava had a premature birth after being pushed, and after giving birth to a stillborn baby, her uterus was removed. She could never be a mother again. And the old lady who witnessed Ava's miscarriage was so scared that she had been mentally unstable ever since. I heard that she would pull any girl she saw and say that she wanted to marry the girl into the Gavin family to carry on the family line. She harassed too many girls. After all, the old lady was over 60 years old, and the police couldn't do anything about it. By the time Gavin was released from prison, his old mother was completely out of her mind and didn't even recognize him. Gavin had no choice. He also didn't have the money to take his mother to see a doctor. To prevent the old lady from causing more trouble, he could only lock her in the old house in his hometown, keeping her locked up day after day, not even allowed to go out for eating, drinking, pooping, or peeing. My daughter is Gavin's only blood relative in this world. He despised her so much before, but now he misses her so much. He's really shameless to the extreme. Gavin didn't give up on harassing me either. He came to block me downstairs at our company. He even went to the TV station to sign up for a love-reviving show, wanting to get back together with me. I knew what he was up to. Now he has nothing, because of his criminal record. No company is willing to hire him. He's not even eligible for the minimum living allowance. Meanwhile, my career is thriving. As long as he can kidnap me again, he can still survive somehow. But he doesn't know that 3 years can change a lot. I'm no longer the weak woman who could let him bully me as he liked before. I attended the show on time and then recounted all of Gavin's bad deeds from 3 years ago to everyone. Facing the camera, I said to the viewers in front of the TV, "Do you all still remember the incident a few years ago about a civil servant reserve cadre who had an affair and accepted kickbacks that went viral on the hot search? The protagonist is my ex-husband, Mr. Gavin. So, do you still think that I should forgive him and bury myself back in the grave again?" There was dead silence at the scene. Sometimes, the internet has no memory, but I do. After saying these things, I turned around and left directly, without looking back. Gavin was disgraced again, and this time, his downfall was even worse. However, he brought all this on himself. Gavin was doxxed by netizens and cyberbullied. All his personal information and home address were dug out. Some people even went to his hometown to throw stones at his windows and rotten eggs at him. Pictures of Gavin going to the hospital with his head smashed were leaked online. I was glad to see it. The last time I saw Gavin, he was wearing a mask and setting up a stall by the roadside. Still, someone recognized him and threw garbage at his stall. Someone shouted, "The urban management is coming." Gavin didn't even care about his stall anymore and just ran away. I was holding my daughter with one hand and Ethan with the other, watching Gavin limping away. He looked really funny. Ethan said that Gavin had left his old mother at their hospital to get away some time ago, but was caught by the police and given a lecture. This kind of life is really, just thinking about it is desperate. I glanced at Ethan. It has nothing to do with me how he lives. I have completely cut off all ties with the past. As for Gavin, that scumbag, whether he lives or dies means nothing to me. My future should be bright.